Hello students, today we are going to start our chapter number 3 from our Beehive book. The name of this chapter is The Little Girl and it is written by Catherine Mansfield. This is a story about a little girl. She feared her father greatly. She thought that he was hard-hearted and strict. She always avoided him. He often scolded her. Once he beat her severely for tearing his important papers. But one night her mother was in the hospital. The little girl was afraid of the dark, but her father consoled her. She slept beside her father. Then she realized that her father was very good. The story starts like this. To the little girl, he was a figure to be feared and avoided. Every morning before going to work, he came into her room and gave her a casual kiss, to which she responded with "Goodbye, father." And oh, there was a glad sense of relief when she heard the noise of the carriage growing fainter and fainter down the long road. A figure to be feared means a person to be feared. And who is the figure to be feared here? Kezia's father. So he refers to Kezia's father and the little girl is Kezia. So the opening line of the story is indicating the fear that Kezia has for her father. And as she is fearful of her father, she tries to avoid him and she tries to remain away from him. So every morning before going to work, Kezia's father would visit her in her room and give her a casual kiss. And in reply, Kezia would say, "Goodbye, father." So this action of Kezia's father shows his love for Kezia. So here we can make out the fear that Kezia has for her father. The writer says that when Kezia heard that her father's carriage was going away from home and he was leaving home and the sound became fainter and fainter, that means the sound reduced, Kezia would have a sense of relaxation. She would feel relieved that her father had left. Now, why did she feel relieved? Because she feared her father. She was afraid of him, and so she was relieved when he left home. तो स्टोरी इस तरह से है कि सुबह में जब केजिया को अपने पापा मिलने आते हैं, मिलने के बाद गुड बाय करके जब वो निकल जाते हैं, जब वो दूर चले जाते हैं, तब छोटी बच्ची केजिया रिलैक्स फील करती है, शांति फील करती है, खुशी फील करती है. क्यों? क्योंकि वो उसके पापा से बहुत डरती है और पापा के जाने के बाद इस लड़की को अच्छा लगता है. In the evening, when he came home, she stood near the staircase and heard his loud voice in the hall. "Bring my tea into the drawing room. Hasn't the paper come yet?" "Mother, go and see if my paper's out there. And bring me my slippers." So in the evening, when Kezia's father would return home, she would hear his loud voice, and this loud voice against made her afraid of him. So as Kezia's father returned home, he would start ordering all different things. He would order that tea be served to him in the drawing room. He wanted the newspaper. He would ask his mother to go and see if the newspaper was there outside the house, and he would ask her to get him his slipper also. शाम को जब केजिया के पापा घर आते थे तो वो स्टेयरकेस पे खड़े रह के उसकी बातें सुनती थी। वो चिल्ला के बात करते थे, वो चाय मांगते थे, वो न्यूज़पेपर मांगते थे, उसकी मम्मी को कहते थे कि न्यूज़पेपर कहाँ है, अगर बाहर है तो लेके आओ, मेरे स्लीपर्स लेके आओ। Kezia, mother would call to her, if you are a good girl, you can come down and take off father's boots. Slowly the girl would slip down the stairs, more slowly still across the hall, and push open the drawing room door. Kezia's mother would call out to her and ask her to remove her father's boots. In order to make her obey, she would say that if she was a good girl, then surely she would obey her father's command. केजिया की मम्मी केजिया को बुला के कहती है कि अगर तुम अच्छी लड़की हो तो तुम्हें तुम्हारे पापा के जूते उतारने चाहिए और उसे सारी पापा की आज्ञा माननी चाहिए. So again we see Kezia's fear of her father. That is why she would come down the stairs quietly and unwillingly. Unwillingly because she did not want to face her father. She feared him. केजिया धीरे धीरे नीचे उतरती है क्योंकि वो उसके पापा से बहुत डरती है. वो मतलब उसको इच्छा नहीं है कि वो उसके पापा के पास जाए, फिर भी वो जाती है. By that time he had his spectacles on and looked at her over them in a way that was terrifying to the little girl. Well, Kezia, hurry up and pull off these boots and take them outside. Have you been a good girl today? I don't know, father. Now here, just imagine Kezia's father sitting in the drawing room on a sofa, wearing his spectacles, and he is looking at Kezia over the spectacles. And now, the way he looked at her terrified her. She was horrified because maybe it seemed to her that he was staring at her. Kezia was slow in her motion, and so her father would tell her to hurry up and remove his boots and keep them out of the room, and then he would ask her if she had been a good girl that day, and Kezia replied that she did not know. So why was she fumbling? Because was not confident. You don't know. If you stutter like that, mother will have to take you to the doctor. Here, stutter means to speak with pauses. Means अगर तुम फंबल करोगी तो मम्मी को तुम्हें हॉस्पिटल ले जाना, मतलब डॉक्टर के पास ले जाना पड़ेगा. She never stuttered with other people, had quite given it up, but only with father, because then she was trying so hard to say the words properly. What's the matter? What are you looking so rich about? Mother, I wish you taught this child not to appear on the brink of suicide. Here, Kezia, carry my teacup back to the table carefully. Given it up means stop doing it. Trying so hard means making a lot of efforts. So here the writer tells us that Kezia never stammered. Stammered मतलब हकलाना, perfect नहीं बोलना. While she spoke to other people, it was only when she talked to her father that she lacked confidence, and that is why she tried very hard to speak properly and she stammered. वैसे तो केजिया हर एक के साथ अच्छे से बोलती है, लेकिन जब पापा के साथ बात करनी होती है तब वो बहुत ही प्रॉपरली बोलने के कारण वो बोल नहीं पाती है. He was so big, his hands and his neck, especially his mouth, when he yawned. Thinking about him alone was like thinking about a giant. The writer says that Kezia felt that his hand and his neck and his mouth were all so huge, especially when he yawned. Kezia अपने पापा को एक मॉन्स्टर की तरह फील कर रही थी। वो समझती थी कि मेरे पापा बहुत ही ह्यूज है, बहुत ही बिग है, एक मॉन्स्टर की तरह है। On Sunday afternoons, grandmother sent her down to the drawing room to have a nice talk with father and mother. But the little girl always found mother reading and father stretched out on the sofa, his handkerchief on his face, his feet on one of the best cushions, sleeping soundly and snoring. Snoring means the sound produced by some people when they are asleep. Grandmother संडे आफ्टरनून में केजिया को अपने पेरेंट्स के पास बात करने के लिए भेजती है, लेकिन मम्मी है वो रीडिंग करती रहती है और पापा है वो सोफ़ा पे सोते रहते हैं। द लिटिल गर्ल ऑलवेज फाउंड मदर रीडिंग, फादर स्ट्रेच्ड ऑन द सोफ़ा। तो इस तरह से मम्मी बैठ के रीड करती होती है और पापा सोफ़ा पे सोते रहते हैं। शी सैट ऑन अ स्टूल, gravely watched him until he woke and stretched and asked the time, then looked at her. Here, gravely means seriously. So all the while Kezia's father was asleep, she would just sit on a stool and watch him carefully till the time he would wake up and stretch his body, and then would ask the time and look at her. Don't stare so, Kezia. You look like a little brown owl. One day, when she was kept indoors with a cold, her grandmother told her that father's birthday was next week and suggested she should make him a pin cushion for a gift out of a beautiful piece of yellow silk. Kezia's father would compare Kezia to a little brown owl. He would say that Kezia was staring at him just like an owl does. Kezia के पापा केजिया को एक आउल के साथ कंपेयर करते हैं और वो कहते हैं कि तुम आउल की तरह ही देखती हो। Now Kezia was not well. She had a cold, so she was supposed to stay at home. So her grandmother suggested that as she was at home and her father's birthday was approaching, she could make a birthday gift for him. She asked Kezia to make a pin cushion for him, and she also gave her a yellow colored fabric of silk to make the cushion. एक दिन केजिया को सर्दी हो जाती है और वो घर पे होती है, तब दादी माँ उसे एक आइडिया देते हैं कि आप पापा के बर्थडे के लिए एक पिन कुशन बनाओ और उसके लिए उसे येलो फैब्रिक, सिल्क का येलो फैब्रिक देते हैं। Laboriously, with a double cotton, the little girl stitched 3 sides. But what to fill it with? That was the question. The grandmother was out in the garden and she wandered into mother's bedroom to look for scraps. Kezia put in lot of effort to make the birthday gift. She used double cotton and she stitched 3 sides of the cushion. Now Kezia had prepared the bag shaped of the cushion. She had to stitch the 4th side, and before that she had to fill the cushion with something, and she did not know what to fill the cushion with. So Kezia was confused that what should she use to fill the cushion with. as her grandmother was out in the garden and she was just looking for something. She reached her mother's bedroom. She was looking for bits of paper or cloth to stuff into the cushion. On the bed table, she discovered a great many sheets of fine paper, gathered them up, tore them into tiny pieces, and stuffed her case, then sewed up the fourth side. That night there was a hue and cry in the house. Father's great speech for the port authority had been lost. Hue and cry means angry protest. Now Kezia is a small little girl. She is very young. Now what she do on the bed table? She found a heap of sheet of paper. So she just gathered all the sheets, then tore them and stuffed those pieces of paper into the cushion. And then she stitched the fourth side of the cushion, and she had prepared a birthday gift for her father. So many of you can relate to Kezia's act. Many children do such things unknowingly, then do not intend to create any mischief or harm anyone, but they end up doing it. Now Kezia has torn some important papers. There was lot of shouting in the house because Kezia's father had prepared a speech for the port authority and he was unable to find it. Now we all know where the speech has gone. It has been torn into pieces and Kezia has stuffed it into the cushion. Now the family searched everywhere. They asked the servants, but no one knew where the sheets of paper had gone. And finally, the mother reaches the Kezia's room. Kezia, I suppose you didn't see some papers on a table in our room? Oh, yes, she said. I tore them up for my surprise. What? Screamed mother. Come straight down to the dining room this instant. Now here we get to see that Kezia is an innocent girl. She did not intend to harm anyone. She was just preparing her birthday gift. And so very truly she tells her mother that she found some pieces of paper and she needed them to stuff into the cushion. So she torn them and prepared her surprise gift. That is a birthday gift that she had to prepare for her father. Unknowingly, Kezia had done a great disaster. And Kezia's mother is so furious when she comes to know that Kezia has torn the speech that her father is looking for. And so she orders Kezia to come down into the dining room at that very moment. And she was dragged down to where father was pacing to and fro, hands behind his back. Well, he said sharply. Here, Kezia's father is full of tension as his important document has been lost. Kezia has torn it into pieces. Now Kezia will be scolded for the mischief that she has done. Mother explained. He stopped and stared at the child. Did you do that? No, she whispered. Mother go up to her room and fetch down the damned thing. See that the child's put to bed this instant. Here, why is Kezia's father referring to the cushion that she has prepared as a damned thing? Because he is angry at the cushion, because Kezia has torn his important document to prepare it. Now he is very angry with Kezia and he stared at her and asked her if she had torn the papers. Kezia was so scared that she was again stammering, and then Kezia's father ordered mother to go and bring that cushion downstairs and asked her to put Kezia to bed at that very moment. मदर ने समझाया और जब केजिया को पूछा गया तो वो पापा को मतलब बहुत ही अस्पष्ट आवाज़ में ना उत्तर देती है और मदर से कहा जाता है कि जल्दी से उस चीज़ को लेके आओ और तुरंत ही चाइल्ड को मतलब केजिया को बेड के पास लेके जाओ. Crying too much to explain, she lay in the shadowed room, watching the evening light make a sad little pattern on the floor. Then father came into the room with a ruler in his hands. Shadowed room means that as it was dark, there was a light outside the room which was making shadows in the room. A sad little pattern refers to the sad atmosphere in the room. Kezia wanted to justify her action as she was innocent. She did not mean to harm her father. She was just preparing a surprise birthday gift for him. Kezia was very sad. She had been happy that she had prepared a surprise for her father and he would like it. But on the other hand, she had accidentally committed a disaster. And then father came to punish Kezia for the wrong act she has done. केजिया रोते हुए सोचती है कि वो कुछ अच्छा काम करने के लिए गई थी लेकिन बुरा हो गया और तभी फादर एक रूलर लेके आते हैं, एक स्केल लेके आते हैं उसे पनिश करने के लिए. I am going to beat you for this, he said. Oh no, no, she screamed, hiding under the bedclothes. Bedclothes refers to the sheets, the top sheets that you cover yourself when you are sleeping. He pulled them aside. Sit up, he ordered, and hold out your hands. Now Kezia's father told her that he would beat her with the ruler. Kezia was so scared that she tried to hide under the sheets. We come to know that why Kezia's father was being strict with her. Why was he punishing her? You must be taught once and for all not to touch what does not belong to you. But it was for your birthday. Down came the ruler on her little pink palm. Kezia's father wanted Kezia to know this thing once for all that she should not touch that thing that does not belong to her. He wanted to teach her this thing so that it benefited in her future life. Right now, she was a small child. She did not know what was important and what was not important. That is why, unknowingly, she has torn the important document of her father. And so he was punishing her. Kezia tried to explain her position. She said that she had been preparing a birthday gift for her father and had to stuff it with something. She wanted to give him a surprise, but Kezia's father did not listen to her excuses. Kezia's father hit the palms of her hand with a ruler. Hours later, when grandmother had wrapped her in a shawl and rocked her in the rocking chair, the child clung to her soft body. Clung means to attach yourself to something. Now Kezia was so afraid she had got beating. Her father had hit her small little palms with the ruler, and many hours later her grandmother wrapped her in a shawl and was trying to pacify her. She made her sit in her lap on a rocking chair, and she was trying to put Kezia to sleep, and Kezia clung to her grandmother. What did God make fathers for? She sobbed. Here's a clean hanky, darling. Blow your nose. Go to sleep, Pat. You'll forget all about it in the morning. I tried to explain to father, but he was too upset to listen tonight. It means Kezia's grandmother was trying to pacify her. She gave her a handkerchief to blow her nose in it and go to sleep. She added that by morning Kezia would forget the beating. Kezia tried to justify herself. She said that she was trying to explain to him the reason for tearing the sheets of paper, but he was not ready to listen to her. So again, we see that the little child was so innocent. She did not realize that her father hit her to teach her a lesson, so that she did not touch anything that did not belong to her. But the child never forgot. Next time she saw him, she quickly put both hands behind her back, and a red color flew into her cheeks. The McDonalds lived next door. They had 5 children. But Kezia never forgot the beating that she had got. Whenever she saw her father approaching, she would keep her hands behind her back because she felt that maybe he would hit her again, and red color flew into her cheeks. Now here, writer tells us about Kezia's neighbors. Her neighbors were a family named McDonalds. In all, the McDonalds had 5 children. Looking through a gap in the fence, the little girl saw them playing tag. In the evening, the father with the baby Mao on his shoulders, 2 little girls hanging on to his coat pockets, ran round and round the flower beds, shaking with laughter. Kezia would peep at them through a hole in the fence. She would see that the family had a lot of fun. They played a game called tag. Tag is a children's game of catching one another like we play catch catch. So, all the children, along with their father, would have a lot of fun. Mr. McDonald would make his little baby Mao sit on his shoulders, and the 2 little daughters that he had, they would hang on to his coat pockets. So all the children were so much attached to their father. They loved him so much that they would stick to him, and then they would run around the garden, around the flower beds, and they would laugh and laugh and laugh. Once she saw the boys turn the hose on him, and he tried to catch them, laughing all the time. Then it was she decided there were different sorts of fathers. Suddenly one day, mother became ill, and she and grandmother went to hospital. One day she saw that the little sons of Mr. McDonald opened the hose on him. They opened the water pipe and tried to make him wet, but Mr. McDonald was not angry with them. He tried to catch them, and he was laughing. This was very strange for Kezia because her father was just the opposite of Mr. MacDonald. When Kezia saw Mr. MacDonald, she realized that he was quite opposite to her father. She felt that God had made various kinds of fathers. One day, Kezia's mother fell ill, so she was taken to the hospital, and the grandmother also went along with her. The little girl was left alone in the house with Alice, the cook. That was all right in the daytime. Now Kezia was all alone at home with the cook. The name of the cook is Alice. Kezia was fine during the day, but while Alice was putting her to bed, she grew suddenly afraid. What'll I do if I have a nightmare? She asked. But at night, when the cook put Kezia to bed, all alone Kezia started feeling scared. Kezia asked Alice that if she had a bad dream, what would she do all alone? I often have nightmares and then Granny takes me into her bed. I can't stay in the dark. It all gets whispery. You just go to sleep, child, said Alice, pulling off her socks, and don't you scream and wake your poor pa. Here, nightmare means a daydream. Here, Kezia explained to Alice that whenever she had nightmares, she would go to her grandmother and she would sleep with her. So she said that she could not stay all alone in the dark because she would be scared. She could hear different kinds of whispering sounds which made her feel that there was something around her. So Kezia's father was sleeping in the next room, and Alice told Kezia to sleep quietly. She removed Kezia's socks and asked her not to scream. She warned her not to scream and wake her father, but Kezia was helpless. But the same old nightmare came. The butcher with a knife and a rope, who came nearer and nearer, smiling that dreadful smile while she could not move, could only stand still, crying out, Grandma, Grandma! She woke shivering to see father beside her bed, a candle in his hand. What's the matter? He said. Here, dreadful means fear. So Kezia nightmare started. Kezia had often she would see a butcher. So this butcher would hold a big knife, a huge butcher's knife and a rope, and he would approach Kezia. He had a dreadful smile on his face, and once Kezia would see him, she would feel that she was unable to move. She was so much scared of him. She was terrified to see this butcher, and in her sleep, Kezia cried out for help. She called for her grandmother. When Kezia woke up, she was shivering. She was trembling, and she saw that her father was standing next to her bed, and he was holding a candle in his hand. And then he asked Kezia what was the matter, why she was screaming. Oh, a butcher, a knife, I want Granny. He blew out the candle, bent down, and caught up the child in his arms, carrying her along the passage to the big bedroom. Kezia was still scared of the nightmare. She said that there was a butcher. he was holding a dreadful knife and she wanted her grandmother. So here we can see the affection that Kezia's father has for her. He blew the candle off, he lifted her and carried her to his bedroom. Kezia फिर से जो सपना देखती है उसमें वो एक बूचर को देखती है, एक बड़ी नाइफ देखती है और वो ग्रानी ग्रानी चिल्लाती है। पापा तब उसके पास आते हैं और वो उसे उठा के एक बड़े बेडरूम में लेके जाते हैं। A newspaper was on the bed. He put away the paper, then carefully tucked up the child. He lay down beside her, half asleep still with the butcher's smile all about her. It seemed she crept close to him, snuggled her head under his arm, held tightly to his shirt. Here, tucked up means covered up. Snuggled means moved into a warm, comfortable position close to another person. Kezia's father lay her in his bed next to him and covered her with the top sheets. Now Kezia felt her father's affection and so she went close to him. She snuggled herself towards her father and she held his shirt tightly so that she would not feel scared again. And now Kezia had overcome her fear of her father. Then the dark did not matter. She lay still. Here, rub your feet against my legs and get them warm, said father. Tired out, he slept before the little girl. A funny feeling came over her. Poor father, not so big after all, and with no one to look after him. Now once Kezia was with her father, she was no longer afraid. He asked Kezia to rub her feet against his legs so that they became warm. Now here Kezia realizes her mistake and she had affection towards her father. She felt that her father was a poor man. He worked so hard. He was not so big as she found him to be earlier. He was harder than grandmother, but it was a nice hardness, and every day he had to work and was too tired to be a Mr. MacDonald. She had torn up all his beautiful writing. She stared suddenly and sighed. What's the matter? Asked her father. Stared means move. Now she felt that her father was a poor man who worked very hard, and so he got so tired that he went off to sleep and did not play with her like Mr. MacDonald did with his children. But Kezia felt that her father's heart was also full of love for her. She realizes that she has torn up his important document, the speech that he has written, and all this realization makes her take a deep breath. She realizes that she had been wrong, and that is why her father had beaten her. He had been so strict with her. Although Kezia's father was asleep, he heard the sound that Kezia made and he asked her what the matter was. Another dream? Oh, said the little girl, my head's on your heart. I can hear it going. What a big heart you have got, father dear. Father thought, was she again watching a daydream? Kezia replied to her father that she had placed her head on her father's heart and she could hear his heartbeat, and she complimented her father that he had a big heart. So Kezia is showing her love for her father as she had realized that her father also loved her. तो इस तरह एक छोटी बच्ची ने अपने पापा के करीब आके अपने पापा की जो फीलिंग्स थी वो समझी और महसूस किया. सो गाइस, थैंक यू वेरी मच एंड stay home, stay safe.